Hey, what's up, guys? It's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Had Enough with Jiraya. Now, before continuing this, if you haven't, then please do leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And without further ado, let's continue with our story. When Naruto made his way to Suna, he was not in the best of moods, considering his return to Konoha generated a lot of negative emotions from past memories. He had come back to Konoha with his mind clearer, more focused, and a better perspective on life. The Toads had taught him everything they had to offer about chakra, including senjutsu, their fighting style to the point where it was flawless, in performing the katas without error. There was only one thing Naruto truly needed that he currently lacked right now in life to make things perfect: life experience. So when word reached Konoha for Suna's Kazekage, Sabakunagara had been kidnapped by the Akatsuki, it was only natural that Naruto go to help his friend. A team consisting of Kakashi, Yamato, Temari, Sakura, Sai and himself had departed to Suna in the hopes they would stop whatever the Akatsuki had planned, and naturally they ran into resistance in the form of the Akatsuki. After the group left Suna to find Gara, the opposition came in the form of two of its members, in the form of Itachi and Kisame. Not that Naruto let them stop from reaching his goals. If it isn't the sushi bitch and the silent asshole, killed any other of the members lately of your clan? Have you spilled the bloods of innocent puppies? Asked Naruto in a mocking tone. Look at him, Itachi, 3 years away with a Sanin and the Brad thinks he's the hot shit. Remarked Kisame while Itachi said nothing. Year and a half, I parted ways with that perverted fool, and it became clear his way of teaching wasn't teaching at all. Honestly, teaching me to tap into Kyuubi's chakra in order to fight you two better was not one of his better ideas. It's like someone fighting a house fire with toad oil. It doesn't work and makes things worse. So I spent my remaining time training under the toads themselves, said Naruto while Kisame kept on grinning while Itachi's eyes slightly narrowed. So you spent your time with some talking webbed wart makers. Big fucking deal. It still won't help you against us, said Kisame while Naruto grinned viciously. If I'm not as big as a threat to you, why is Itachi still trying to cast a genjutsu with his eyes like he has with everyone else? Asked Naruto while Itachi's eyes narrowed even more. So you found a way to make yourself immune to genjutsu. Interesting, said Itachi while Naruto suddenly scowled. You can stop with the praise, Itachi. I know why you two butt buddies are here, and it's not to insult us or speak some small praises at what I do. I also sense you two aren't the real deal. You hide it well, even showing the various abilities one could find in both the real Itachi and Kisame, but Uzumaki's sensory perception can see through that weak shit. And right now, I see the two corpses being used as puppets to hold us off, while my friend is being killed, so drop the genjutsu and stand aside, said Naruto while Kisame grinned. Or what else, brat? Demanded Kisame, before he was suddenly and violently kicked in the midsection by Naruto, sending the man flying back where almost 20 feet away. Fast and strong, thought Itachi, while glancing over at Kisame, who had reverted back to the dead body they obtained for the jutsu. Fun fact about senjutsu, it can really hurt people when you strike them in the vital bodily area, said Naruto, before he glared at Itachi. I am curious, how are you blocking my Sharingan's powers? Asked Itachi curiously. Simple, I'm mixing senjutsu and the Kyuubi's power through my body, in perfect sync. When heading here, I spent that time gathering up as much as of it I could, mixing it just right, and with what it is sealed in my gut, and no genjutsu of you have from your shitty eyes can stand in my way. Not even the second level you have in your pocket, said Naruto while Itachi further frowned. So you know, remarked Itachi while Naruto scoffing. Of course I do. Sasuke basically bragged as much on how an Uchiha gets one of his cursed eyes to that stage. I got further information from the Toads on how it works. It's a good thing I don't consider your brother my best friend, or else the bastard might get what he wants. Aside from killing you, of course, said Naruto while Itachi further frowned at him. You should reconsider. You can learn a lot from him, and forming a bond would be for the best, said Itachi while Naruto snarled. Been there. Done that. What did I get for my efforts? Insult, a broken neck, and 2 Chidoris to the chest. I think I'll pass on the whole friend with the Uchiha shit. That concept is not healthy for my life, said Naruto while Itachi frowned at him, since he needed the two of them to be friends so Sasuke could get the eyes needed to become stronger. Naruto's resistance to form the bond of friendship with Sasuke was hindering the plans of the Uchiha clan's lair, and Itachi didn't like it. He wanted Sasuke to gain the next level of the Sharingans, so when both Uchihas fought next, Itachi could give his eyes to Sasuke and become an Uchiha worthy of ruling over the rebuilt clan. But Naruto was being difficult, and it seems Sasuke himself had been responsible for causing this damage. The Kyuubi's Jinchuriki time with the Toads had clearly made the boy stronger than anyone would most likely prefer him to be in life. Not only that, but the Toads had provided a mentality of where the boy no longer took crap from anyone and was not forgiving to someone who hurt him. Again, it created a problem for Itachi, one he now had to fix in the future, but it did in a discreet manner away from the Akatsuki. A pity. No matter, you are only a mean to an end, said Itachi, while Naruto smirked at him now. So are you, said Naruto before he moved faster than even the fake Itachi's eyes could follow, and was struck across the face, where the eyes were located, with the blonde's chakra, and leave large scar on the face of Itachi, with enough chakra behind the strike to tear flesh from its body, damaging the eyes of the fake body the Uchiha possessed. A Rasengan to the fake Uchiha's chest, and he was down for the count, before Naruto used his chakra again to dispel the genjutsu his team was in. Before they could ask what had happened, upon seeing the two unknown bodies around, Naruto was already heading for where he sensed Gaara feeding the life force was located. Rasengan to the barrier set up to keep them out did the trick, and Naruto entered to see Shikaku being extracted from Gaara. Before the two Akatsuki members sent to retrieve the young Kage could speak, Naruto did something that would shock them. The Konoha team and the other projected members of the Akatsuki in the room. Naruto took out a three-pronged kunai before throwing them at the Deidara and Sasori. Oh, said Deidara with a start, since being a former Eva nin made him recognize what it just happened. Shit. Finished Sasori before Naruto appeared in a flash, striking with another kunai to Deidara's skull and a senjutsu-enhanced kick to Sasori's side. Sasori's puppet body shattered into 100 pieces, but the puppet within the puppet had escaped, just barely. But before he could do anything, Naruto was in his personal space, putting his fist into Sasori's puppet chest, where the blonde sensed was where the remaining anchor of life binding the puppet master was placed. Any last words before you die? Growled Naruto angrily. I do. I know Orochimaru is your enemy. He's mine too. I have a spy within his ranks at nearly the highest level. I was meant to meet up with him in the next 2 weeks to obtain the Sani's future movements. I now give you this chance to kill him in my place, said Sasori while Naruto's eyes narrowed at him. Location, said Naruto while Sasori whispered it into his ear before Naruto crushed his heart within the puppet body before turning to the still shocked member of the Akatsuki staring back at him. The cubist Jinchuriki. We meet at last, remarked Pain for his projection. After a long moment of silence while still trying to process the fact that the boy used Yonda's most spirit jutsu. He would have to talk to Tobi and Zetsu about that in private, and you must be the leader of these assholes. What does that make you? Biggest asshole out of all of them? Remarked Naruto while Pain ignored the insult. What? Call me an asshole with you. You are so fucking lucky I'm not there right now, kid. I could kill you easily and sacrifice you to the Jashin-sama, said Hidan through the projection. Am I talking to you? No. Then shut your mouth and suck rope, said Naruto while the man he insulted went on a cursing rant and spewed out more threats while the one next to him let out a chuckle, all of which Naruto ignored when he went to go get a barely alive Gaara. Fortunately, they had gotten there to the point where Shikaku wasn't exactly fully extracted from Gaara and went right back in the redhead's body. Acting quickly, Naruto altered the poor excuse of a seal to make it stronger, but also placing some various security measures into it to prevent a future form of forced extraction like this one. While stunned, Naruto glanced over at the projection, still there watching them, and growled at Pain, currently staring back at him with narrowed Rinnegan eyes. You are only delaying the inevitable. You and every other Jinchuriki will soon be an extension of my will and bring about a new era of peace through pain, said Pain, while Naruto glanced at him before turning to projection further back from the rest of the members. I'm going to enjoy ripping out your spinal column. I suggest you all get ready for the fight. I'm going to bring to your doorstep because I'm not going to hold back any longer, and I'm going to show you why it is unwise to piss off Uzumaki Naruto, said Naruto to all of them before he picked up his friend, left without another word to them while ignoring his teammates. And after what he just did, it was clear to them that the Naruto they knew, or thought they knew, was no more. This Naruto was geared up for a fight, and had no problem with dishing out the beatings to those who deserved it. Orochimaru's lair, sometime later. So where's the loser? I see pink hair wannabe for a Konoichi. I see my lazy perverted of a sensei, an unknown and clearly weak shinobi, but not the loser, commented Sasuke arrogantly while he stared down at his former teammate. And sensei, maybe he doesn't think you're worthy the effort, commented Kakashi while Yamato was looking around for the Sanin. The last few hours, if not the best couple of weeks, had been interesting to say the least for them, or at had been for Kakashi himself when Naruto came back to the village with a whole new feel about him. When Naruto had finally come back to Konoha, he had changed quite a bit, no longer loudmouth, boasting and overall weak like he had been when leaving with Jiraiya. He was calm, serious, and had an aura about him like a storm of sword was brewing all around him for the very beginning. When Kakashi tried to greet Naruto, Naruto just gave him a serious look of the looks that made the cycloptic Jonin freeze instantly, since it reminded him deeply of his late sensei when serious. It was in that moment Kakashi knew Naruto he remembered was no more. Gon was their ramen, the hyperactive blonde, and his yellow, being Hokage one day, for all to hear. In his place was someone ready for a fight and would gladly dish it out if push come to a possible shove. When Naruto entered the Hokage office, Tsunade had made an attempt to hug Naruto, which was what almost happened if not for the blonde man giving her that same moment look given to Kakashi. He was not back in the village for hugs and kisses, well wishes, or anything else resembling friendship one had among other shinobi in the same village. He was here on business. He was back in Konoha to clearly away some of his own debts and make others pay there to him, namely to clear up past failures, one involving Sasuke, Kabuto, Orochimaru, and even the Akatsuki itself. He also made it clear that any such abuse aimed at him in the past and into the future would be met with retribution by people whom thought they could get away with it. While Naruto wasn't going to kill anyone, as far as Kakashi and Tsunade knew, the blonde Uzumaki made it clear that people would wish they would die should they test him. He also made it clear that the Toads had helped fix whatever broken mentality or false perception he had regarding his views of Konoha and life in general. They made it clear that forgiveness was good to give out, but not when it was taken for granted. Not only that, but if it acted smug about it. Not only, as said, forgiveness wasted, the act itself only made the offenders believe they were in the right. Since they were never punished or ignored when the acts of abuse occurred, the people got it in their heads that the cruel actions they performed on Naruto was okay, even more when no one called them out on being proven wrong about Naruto in the first place. If no one did that, why feel any remorse at all? Why feel anything bad about abusing the Jinchuriki if no one was going to remind them? How the boy didn't do anything to deserve it. The fools could easily argue their abuses kept the boy in check, that they had every right to hurt the boy, and would do it again if possible for the same result, since no one had punished them from the beginning. For Naruto, such lines of thoughts were unacceptable. Actions and consequences had the actions of Konoha on his person were unacceptable. The fact the powers that he did not punish for them for their actions and tried to let them see the light on their own was foolish, since the group mentality would never let a single individual within think otherwise. In Naruto's mind, in order to fix this, he had to break the group mentality and target the individual fragments of the group mentality before they could reform elsewhere, make them see that their point of view was not only stupid but would not go unpunished. In his mind, if they didn't get punished for their actions, it would only just encourage future generations to be abusive to any Jinchuriki following him, and Naruto wasn't going to stand for it one way or another. When Tsunade tried to talk to him about more personal things, Naruto told her they could wait, and to give him the key to his parents' house, the one he should have from the start, but was denied by the powers that be when the younger thanks to the Sandam and the power-hungry council. It was clear to those selected people in the room who already knew Naruto's parents that he also knew the truth and was not happy with anyone who not only knew the truth but chose not to do anything to help him. The Toads had been most supportive of him and providing Naruto with the knowledge he needed to know that was kept from him most of his life. They tried to fix the warped mental view Konoha, the son that Jiraiya had given during his time living with them. Naturally, they were appalled by some of things the village had done to the boy mentality, as well as the physical aspect of the abuse. It had taken a large amount of effort to undo the damage, but the Shadow Clone Jutsu, producing thousands of copies each day to focus on ninja training while the real one had his mentality healed, was a greater counter. The Toads also suspected that the Shadow Clone Jutsu was kept from Naruto from the start, even though it was designed for an Uzumaki with high chakra reserves in the first place. It also concerning that the Sandam and the Academy instructors had known the boy had such high reserves, yet offered no alternative to the standard Shadow Clone. Hell, the Academy let Rock Lee graduate from the Academy, and the spandex-wearing boy had practically no chakra to begin with. It raised a shitload of questions and speculative answers were all that followed. Again, the Toads suspected foul play, even more so when all the instructors try Naruto to try harder and pay more attention in class, despite the fact teachers kicked him out whether Naruto didn't anything to warrant it or not. They didn't tell him anything about chakra control or any other various versions of the clone jutsu he could use, much less those that were elemental like the earth or water clone jutsus. Foul play only smelled more likely and more foul. Then longer the toads thought about it and made a mental note to speak to Jiraiya about this in an off chance the fool knew or considered this outcome. Still, Tsunade wanted to test his skill in evolution. When Naruto asked who would perform the test, the boy unleashed a small pulse of killer intent throughout the room. It made Tsunade, Shizune, Kakashi and the hidden Nanbu watch everything shiver in fear. When it came to the evolution, it was no surprise any longer to Kakashi that Naruto had grown so much since the last time he saw him. Hell, Naruto didn't even send the need to help of Sakura or the superhuman strength technique Tsunade taught her. The fact that he ignored her the entire time upon his return. Notwithstand, of course, Sakura could yell at him in order for the blonde to pay attention to her, but again, Naruto ignored her to focus on the test at hand, which was naturally the fucking bell test, something which Naruto recalled ended in the unfair treatment of himself being tied to the post at the end. Honestly, Sakura went down for a genjutsu again and again after seeing Sasuke's head stuck up from the ground. She didn't even try to get the damn bell, so what if he tried to eat the food? Kakashi had also been a prick the entire time and was late both times they first met, as if it was okay for him to waste their time when they could have done things instead for waiting. Kakashi justified his decision to punish Naruto among other things he did when Team 7 was formed. The blonde didn't know, nor did he care for what mattered. Kakashi had wronged him back when they first started out, and Naruto intended for the man to pay up with his test. Fortunately, Kakashi had basics order him and Sakura to attack the Jonin with intent to kill, which was why, for his part, Naruto quickly beat Kakashi bloody all on his own without any matter of moment, took a single bell from the Jonin and gave it to the stunned Sakura and simply left the training field without saying a word, only for Jiraiya to appear in front of him with a disapproving frown on his face. "You change a lot, Kaki, but not for the better, as if you have a right to judge me after all the shit you pulled. So you're holding a grudge, is it that? It's not my fault you can't take a few physical hits or otherwise. We both know this goes well beyond a few hits, you fucking waste of space. So I wasn't there for you growing up. Do you think you're the only one with a godparent or a parent out there who ignored their obligations? Grow up. I don't hold your hand back when you were a pathetic gaki, and I won't hold it now. Also, I have no intentions of getting on my knees and begging for your forgiveness regardless of what Tsunade commands. I don't expect you to hold my hand or beg for my forgiveness. I'm too old for now one of them, and the other. I have none to give. Even if I did wish to forgive you, Jiraiya, we both know it would be an emotional response wasted on a man who cares more about boobs and butts over his own segregated family. Is it any worthy? That old fart monkey liked Orochimaru far more when it came to teaching the two of you. Watch it, Brad. The Sandem was my sensei and a great man. You may think yourself hot shit now, but I got a lot more experience and can still kick your ass. You would think that, but we both know your skills are mediocre at best. When was the last time you trained, Jiraiya? And I mean actually trained in the Toad's kata. You were told required to the constantly practice. When was the last time you had an actual fight with someone? The answer is simple. It's been a very long time. If I went all out now against you at your best, I could wipe the floor with you and still have enough energy left to go on a mission without slowing down. Tough talk for a brat, not even 16 years old. It's not talk. I can back it up right there, right now. The only reason I don't is because I'm heading to see the Hokage for a mission. Excuses. Just like before a year and a half ago. If you really were stronger, you would have fight me right now. I will fight you right after I kill Orochimaru and bring Sasuke back a broken man. You can't kill him, Naruto. Orochimaru is too strong. Not to mention, Sasuke will decimate you if there is a confrontation. The kid's a prodigy. You're not. Tell me what you're Sanin. After I return from killing your former teammate and bring back mine, I will fight you. One-on-one, no holding back. You fight me with everything you got, and I'll bring everything I have to the battle too. Agreed? Done. I just hope you're ready to admit how outclassed you are against a man of my skill, Gaki. And I hope you understand just how stupid you are to neglect me all those years ago after I had leave your body broken to the ground. And just so you know, if I see a moment in time where I can kill you, I am taking it. This isn't to be a simple spar, Jiraiya. This is going to be an all-out war, and I intend to not only win, but to see it to you are never to same again as a result. Oh, and one more thing. Your so-called sensei wasn't the shinobi of God. He was the god of hypocrisy. The Sandem Hokage was a double-standard fool, and out of everything he taught, it was the only skill that the man successfully passed on to you. I'm warning you, Brad. Say one more bad word about my sensei and I will kill you right here on the spot. You tried that already, remember? Throwing me into the endless ravine in the hopes of activating the Cubist chakra. By the way, the Toad thinks you are an idiot for thinking up such a stupid idea. It was the fastest way to do it. And if you failed, it was not a big deal in my books. As your godfather, I was entitled to see how you were raised as my godson and trained in a being shinobi. Does that include how I should die as one of the others? Cue long silence. Did the Tours tell you about the prophecy? All of it? Yeah, they did. A total crap. I heard it word of word. Why the elder Toad told you prophecies about me? You were not meant to hear it, much less blab to it to Sandam. You did know the rules in place made by the kami regardless prophecy, right? Though I'm not surprised you were so obsessed with the part focusing on yourself itself, I would be surprised if you actually cared about who you would be training. Fuck those rules, fuck kami. You think I care about such things? Where was Kami and his rules when Madara betrayed Konoha? When Orochimaru betrayed Konoha? When the fourth Hokage died? When my sensei died? I lost everything that mattered to me. If Kami wasn't going to play by the rules, that said I didn't have to either. Spare me your so-called suffering. You were always a lazy super pervert and leech long before you became a shinobi. Long before those so-called bad things happened to you in life. You leeched off of my father and anyone else you could get your claws onto for your own benefit. The only reason you didn't dig even deeper into the fourth was because my mother saw you for your wretching things you were and put a stop to it. Which exactly why I'm glad she isn't alive here today. But your bitch of a mother had no business getting between me and my former student. If I wanted to mooch off him, it was my sight and right. She didn't have any right to interfere with how I was interacting with my former student, even though she was married to him. My exact mother wasn't exactly pleased with you. She overheard a conversation to convince my father that it would be okay to have a piece of Konoichi ass on the side. So if my mother got too bitchy, he could always go to another woman for comfort. Not to mention, you told my father how to people of Konoha did not only really care for my mother that much because she was considered a foreigner, and having a Konoichi from Konoha on the side as a second option was more tolerable. How do you know that? Both of my parents each left a piece of their soul in the seal as a false save of sort. Should it flatter from stress and strain, they were very angry with you and whole Konoha as a whole when I told them about my life. They see your action as a betrayal of their trust in being a responsible godfather. When you die, they will be having words with you on the subject. Kakashi still shivered at the memory, especially the last part. The Jonin knew Kushina was a woman you did not cross, ever. Even Orochimaru, for all his sadistic tendencies, knew pissing the woman off was worse than any anger Tsunade catching Jiraiya peeping on her. It seemed that the loser has become even more stupid since the last time I saw him, said arrogantly before he suddenly gasped in pain and grabbed his neck when feeling an intense burning sensation. Or maybe Kakashi is right. I didn't see you as a threat or challenge to me anymore, said Naruto behind Sasuke a moment later while the Uchiha's eyes went, how did he get behind me without sensing him? Thought Sasuke before he turned around and attempted to cut the blonde in half with his sword, or force said Naruto in front of him to explode and sent him flying back down with it towards the Konoha's team. Or rather, that would have happened if not Naruto coming at him from the right, kneeing him in the rib. This followed up by one of these left punches Sasuke in the face, finished off with one surprising the Konoha's team by shooting right up from the ground in the lab into the air and delivering a chakra-enhanced kick to the Uchiha's spine. After this happened, an army of Naruto's shadow clone made themselves into a whip and launched the Naruto at the end to hit Sasuke in the chest to send the still shocked Uchiha back down. No such hot shit now, are you, Uchiha? Did Orochimaru spend this training time to make you a proper shinobi or his personal sex pet? Asked Naruto coldly towards his former teammate struggling to stand from the hits he suffered. How can you be this strong? Asked Sasuke while looking up at Naruto with disdain in his eyes. Through training. Lots and lots of training. Training day and night. I blooded my hands, my feet, and even my face to the point where the crimson liquid acted as a second skin. I broke my bones in many ways. It's not even funny. But what I did to you was not even a fraction of what I can do to you, Sasuke. The force behind each blow I landed added enough power behind it to rival one of Tsunade's super strength punches. Right now, I believe you have several broken ribs, a badly bruised if not broken spine, and jaw shattered. One side with a few teeth being loose, if not falling out, said Naruto calmly while he raised a hand to stop Sakura from moving to heal Uchiha. I should have killed you at the Valley of the End to think I spared you on whim, said Sasuke while Naruto had the nerve to laugh at him and Uchiha and Elite. You spared me on a whim? Once again, Sasuke, you copy others before doing anything truly original. I spared you first. I could have ripped through you and your Chidori with my Rasengan or let you rip your face clean off while taking those eyes Orochimaru wanted so badly right out of their sockets, but I held back. I held a lot back. Orders were to use force if you reinstated were authorized, but it wasn't lethal force. You, however, had no such restraint and came at me with intent to kill. You threw everything you had at me and I came back for more. Your victory over me, Uchiha, was a technicality, nothing more. Stated Naruto while Sasuke was sitting and tried to use a curse mark, only to find his power he couldn't. My power, the curse seal, I can't use it, stated Sasuke in shock while he had assumed Naruto had put some kind of suppressor on him. You just realized that now. I killed Orochimaru and as a result, the curse seal on you was destroyed before I made my presence even known to you soulless ass. Honestly, you are so arrogant and smug about yourself that you don't even have sensory awareness for having eyes in the back of your head. You believe that no one could be daring to attack the mighty Uchiha Sasuke from behind is so strong that your awareness of a shinobi should have for such things completely sucks, said Naruto while Sasuke seated further. Impossible. There is no way you are nearly Orochimaru's level or Kabuto's, explained Sasuke before he winced in pain from trying to push himself and he was having a hard time breathing. I train to the point of exhaustion each day, Sasuke. With my stamina chakra, I can train all day into the night. I got to the point where my Imperator threatened to halt my training if I didn't get any sleep at night. One point, I was training so hard they caught me sleeping training and had to watch me until they could figure out how to stop it, said Naruto while Sasuke snarled at him. You used the QB for your training, didn't you? Orochimaru already told me your dirty little secret. You used his power like a crutch to get stronger. Without it, you are nothing, exclaimed Sasuke while Naruto scoffed. As if you are one to talk. You used the Curse Seal Stage 2 on me at the belly of the end. Who has the Sharingan? You want to talk about curses in order to get stronger? You're practically in your blood. You copy Lee's taijutsu for the Chunin exams rather than learn how to do it the old-fashioned way of learning it yourself because you can't do it the old-fashioned way. And what did you get it? All those fancy moves required of having a lot of stamina. You have copied the old form of taijutsu during these months spent training, but you lacked the meat behind it. I didn't make this mistake. I can go toe-to-toe with Rock Lee, Kakashi, and Might Guy here at the same time all day while barely breaking a sweat. I imagine that's not the case with you, Sasuke. I imagine you can barely stand if you were to spar with Orochimaru or Kabuto while going out, said Naruto while Sasuke spat blood out of his mouth. Fuck you, said Sasuke while Naruto smirked. No thanks, Sasuke. I'm straight. Unlike you, I didn't run away from beautiful women to be with a sneaky bastard pedophile and his equally creeped out buddy. When we get back to Konoha, you are going to answer for your crimes. You will answer for everything, traitor, said Naruto before he kicked Sasuke right in the face with enough force to knock out. Was that really necessary? Asked Sakura while Naruto glanced at her coldly. If you had paid attention to half the things Tsunade should have taught you, Sakura, you know, the body language Sasuke was giving off before any arrival clearly showed he was going to kill you all. He would have swooped down, killed you all, and not lost an ounce of sleep over it. I'll imagine he would have paraded your bodies all over the place for anyone to see in the hopes of pissing me off. Still think it was too much, said Naruto before he put off chakra suppression cuffs on the Uchiha before sealing Sasuke into the one-of-his-kind prisoner school created. A prisoner could be easily transported back home if caught alive. You don't have to be so cold, Naruto, said Sakura with a frown. She was finally having a conversation with him, but was barely considered civil. Well, when you have two assassins' jutsus rammed into your chest and have your neck broken by a Raven High pile driver, you can judge whether or not the user of such moves deserve to be treated with kid's glove, said Naruto before walking away, ignoring the shocked look of his former teammate. Naruto could wait to show them off and rub it into everyone's face what he had made when allowing his mind to think of new things to create. Hokage office sometime later. If I wasn't looking at the proof before my very eyes, I could have thought all of this was insane, said Tsunade while Naruto took off two scrolls and unsealed them. The one holding the head of Kabuto and Orochimaru, though one head was arguably that of a giant white snake. It was definitely Tsunade's and Jiraiya's old teammate. Seeing is believing, Tsunade, said Naruto professionally while deciding to not call her granny like he used to. Not out of respect. No, she didn't have his respect. Not anymore. Not her, not Jiraiya, not the late Sandaime, not Kakashi. None of them did. Especially the adults. They all knew the truth. You have to be pretty fucking blind and deaf and dumb not to know the truth of who the boy's father was. Naruto was especially angry at the Inuzuka clan since he knew they should have known and been able to tell right away thanks to their senses of smell being enhanced. I mean, all they had to do was smell his scent and compare to it the memory of his past parents. As for Tsunade, she had a look of sorrow on her face as to not being called granny since it was his only weird way to show some measure of respect. While the nickname was in a way of short at growing age, it was not meant to be an insult, at least not anymore, and was missing it in some strange way. How did you kill him? Asked Tsunade curiously. Simple, I pissed him off and Kabuto as well. I had them make the first move. Wasn't hard, just had to provoke that one weakness Orochimaru and Kabuto had left. Said Naruto like it was the easiest thing in the world. What weakness was that? Asked Tsunade curiously, while the others listened intently. Easy. It was their pride. I attacked, insulted their pride. I insulted the intelligence of Orochimaru first. His so-called ability to cheat death and mocked him for fearing it. I called him a lorry parasite, thick worm, who wet himself in the presence of the Shinigami. I also needed to make sure Kabuto didn't try to cool his head, so I proceeded to insult him next. I did things to mock Kabuto for being loyal to Orochimaru. I also called him Orochimaru's personal butt buddy, and liked to have the Sanin's extended tongue and cock slithering up his ass because he didn't have any other purpose in life. When it came to serving the Sanin, naturally, the two didn't take the insults very well, and the fact that their pride was being attacked by someone they considered weak was something they couldn't tolerate, said Naruto, while they were simply more to it than just insulted to the missing nins. Naruto didn't waste time being flashy with them. He was quick and precise in killing them both. Kabuto died first, cutting the man's chakra scalpel covered arm off at the elbow, followed by the head with standard Anbu sword he had acquired. From the treacherous and emotionally stunned, Sai had done the job. Naruto had killed Sai because he knew something was off about the pale-skinned and emotionally challenged boy. Ba and Ma had taught him well in determining when a person was not who they truly were, no matter how hard they tried to hide it. Sensory awareness kicked ass. As such, Naruto had interrogated Sai to the point where the boy was a bloody mess. A silent mess, but bloody all the same. It was after Naruto went through Sai's ninja gear did he see the pictures of Anbu without their mask, list of their names, identifying them, and even some of their abilities, all assigned to be given to Orochimaru from the looks of things, and a message from one Shimura Danza of Konoha asking for the two of them to work in taking Tsunade out. The picture with the identities of the Anbu being a sign of good faith payment to Orochimaru and the promise of test subjects if the Sanin helped him become the next Hokage. All in all, Naruto kept such evidence for later and killed Sai with his own sword before the Root Nin could even contemplate what happened. The other members of the team didn't know this since they had gone on ahead to scout for Orochimaru's base. When they asked about Sai on the way back to Konoha, he found out it was incredibly easy to just lie to them about how Kabuto killed Sai with the chakra scalpel to the chest. Considering it was how Naruto almost died at one point, it wasn't too hard to believe the story was true since the blonde used his own experience as a reference to the story. This way, the group would believe the story and make the lie more believable when giving his report. The look of remembrance on Tsunade's face would be seen by Kakashi, Yamato, and Sakura, so they wouldn't have any sort of doubt about it. Add to the body was dumped off the bridge into the river below during the fight would make it impossible for them to find Sai's corpse, which was actually burned into ashes, so there was no chance in hell of finding it. As for Orochimaru, he was pissed off that Kabuto was killed so easily and quickly by Naruto to the point of instantly going all out on the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. Naruto did the same with the area around them being turned into complete different terrain. When Naruto went to Four Tails, the Sanin had tried to use his sword on him in order to hope of poisoning in it would end the blonde's life, only for Naruto to surprise him by grabbing the sword when extended at the last minute, yanking the Sanin forward and slicing him in half with his claws. Orochimaru was able to recover by reattaching his halves together, but soon did he do that, Naruto was on his back, sinking both his claws and teeth into the Sanin's body, sending coarse flesh dissolving Biju's chakra into the man, who barely shook the Jinchuriki off of him before shedding his skin-like body to save his life, only to be met with a Biju bomb, which he tried to shield himself while using the triple Rashomon Jutsu. It almost didn't work, but the blast was stopped. As for Naruto, he was on the Sanins again, before he could quickly recover and began weakening Orochimaru considerably, until finally Orochimaru had no choice but to use the giant snake form to combat Naruto in the four-tail state. The battle soon became one of the pure skills, agility, wits, and just the right timing mixed in with some raw animalistic fury for both of them. With the one instance where Naruto grabbed the discarded and forgotten sword during the battle, Kusanagi near him and sliced the Sanin's head clean off from his body. Shortly after, Naruto stabbed the head through the brain for good measures, a couple dozen times to be exact, and buried the large white carcass looking to be made up of multiple tiny snakes to ensure there was no way the Sanin could continue to live. One sealed up snake head later, the blonde was off to deal with Sasuke's treacherous ass. I believe that hard to I find that hard to believe, Naruto. You're strong, unbelievably strong, but to make down someone like Orochimaru, much less Kabuto together, is difficult to accept. Said is not skeptical, and yet here we are with the proof sitting on your desk. Oh, one more thing before I forget, said Naruto before he taking out a scroll and sealed to reveal Sasuke better from now on in front of the woman's desk. A kick to the Uchiha's ribs by Naruto and the ground that followed from the beating boy on the ground proved that he was alive. Anbu, take the traitor away. No one is allowed to see him except Ibiki, Anko, and myself until I say otherwise. If anyone else tries to see Uchiha Sasuke, I want you to arrest them, commanded Tsunade while the Anbu nodding and left the room with the Uchiha being carried off. When can I get my pay? Asked Naruto with Tsunade sighing, since she missed the loudmouth brat who would smile and shout about being Hokage. She still believed he would be Hokage but would not have the same caring smile. Now he was full of seriousness. What did he learn during the time away from Konoha and Jiraiya? Did her sensei and Tsunade herself scar him that badly? Here is the paid stub for both the completed missions, the bounty for killing Orochimaru and Kabuto, and the retrieval of Sasuke Uchiha. Present that the bounty pay room and they will give you the money you deserve, said Tsunade, with Naruto took them but did not smile at her. Unlikely. If they are the same idiots who were the 3 years ago, they still owe me back. Pay for not providing the appropriate amount of cash from my various missions when the Sandam was alive. This included the bounty from the 2 Akatsuki members I killed back Suna and when rescuing Gaara, said Naruto while Tsunade frowned since she didn't know that. Did you tell my sensei about this when he was alive? Tsunade, curiously, while she also make a mental note to pay this section a visit. I did. The Sandam said he would look into it. I waited 2 weeks for him to fix his problem. He never did. I always assumed it was because there was a lot of red tape on his end, considering what I am to the people in this village, said Naruto while Tsunade sighed and mentally cursed her late sensei for acting the way he did with the blonde in front of her. I'll handle it, Naruto. If you give me time, if they give you any trouble, tell them I will be down shortly and will be looking over everything myself if necessary, said Tsunade with Naruto frowning at her. Funny. He said the same thing. Don't bother interfering. I will handle this myself, said Naruto before leaving with his space tub. What happened to you, Naruto? Why are you being so cold? This isn't like you, said Tsunade while Naruto stopped at the door. Normally I wouldn't be like this, but after spending time away from Konoha and being taught things I was denied for years, I felt change and was necessary. Why do you care? I would think a mature version of myself would be an improvement over the stupid one you first met 3 years ago, said Naruto before walking out of the door. Should we be worried, Okage-sama? Asked Yamato, and Tsunade sighed, waving the concern of no. Naruto has a lot of anger in him at the moment. Anger put there by this very village and brought to the surface after being away for so long. If he wants to vent some of the anger out, let him do it. Maybe afterwards, it will open the eyes of these morons down below what it means to abuse a child and act like it was not a big deal because the said child is a Jinchuriki, Tsunade said before the door opened again and 3 people she didn't want to see were now in the room looking as serious as ever. So it is true. The Jinchuriki killed both Orochimaru and Kabuto, commented Danzo while Tsunade narrowed her eyes at him. He has a name, Danzo. You would do well to remember that. Warned Tsunade, but it was clear the old warhawk didn't care about that right now. He did. He never did he? Asshole. Did he come explain how it was done? Demanded Koharu, only staring at the giant white snake head that was Orochimaru's face. He did. But I'm not under obligation to tell you that, said Tsunade while all 3 elders frowned at her. Tsunade, you know it is imperative of us to think these things. First the 2 Akatsuki members, now Orochimaru and Kabuto. As members of your council, we demand that you tell us how strong the Jinchuriki has become, demanded Hamura, while Tsunade gritted her teeth in anger. You demand something from me? You dare say that to my face? You demand to know the answer to your questions of me, your Hokage? Questioned Tsunade, while the 3 old men tried to keep their courage up despite her anger. This Jinchuriki is quite powerful, Tsunade. Knowledge of what he can do since his time was crucial in keeping this village weapon in check, said Danzo while Tsunade was sitting at the continued disrespect towards Naruto. It was bad enough Jiraiya did it, and even her, when she first met the brat, but these 3 were clearly going to be disrespectful to Naruto until the day he died, which she was hoping would come soon. He has a name, Danzo. If you can't even say his name, don't be in the same room as me or him. In fact, if you can't stand the idea of referring to him as his name, I suggest you simply kill yourself now. No one in this office will disrespect him while I am Hokage, said Tsunade while Danzo scowled, and the other two elders looked shocked. Tsunade, you can't be serious, Koharu protested. You want to talk serious? Jiraiya hasn't been training the boy for the last 3 years. In fact, Jiraiya has proven himself incompetent in the area, and has done it on purpose. It was fortunate that Naruto decided to take the initiative and go to the tours themselves for training. Unlike my former teammate, they were ready to help and get him stronger for the enemy we know is waiting to strike, said Tsunade while the elders look even further displeased. Whether due to Jiraiya's neglecting Naruto's training or the fact that Naruto got the training he needed to grow stronger was unknown. He should have been sent to me for training from the start. I could have molded him properly into a ruthless shinobi, said Danzo while Tsunade's eyes narrowed. There is no question about that last part, Danzo, providing he wasn't a Jinchuriki, but the fact still remains Naruto being trained like one of your root nin wouldn't work very well for anyone. Jinchurikis need their emotion, and the lack of them will make one weak to the point where they are simply cannon fodder to being used as an enemy. Not only that, but I highly doubt you want to risk Naruto's snapping mentality and pulling an Itachi on an even greater level before we could stop him. Besides, we all know any shinobi you train or is conditioned to your root training is basically programmed to be loyal only to you. We all know the boy would have been used in a coup to take the position of Hokage from me, said Tsunade while Danzo said nothing since it was true and just chose not to acknowledge what the woman accused of him. During the fight, Danzo would have made the boy his loyal pawn and used him in a coup to take over Konoha from his old rival or the woman in front of him. Not that he would admit it outright. Let the woman in the Hokage's seat accuse of him possibly snagging the Cubist Jinchuriki for his own purposes. His silence spoke nothing, yet everything to Tsunade, but without proof it was just her spouting of nonsense, which worked fine for him since it made the woman look inadequate in being Hokage. What does Jiraiya have to say on the subject about the boy? Asked Tomura curiously while he changed the subject back to the village Jinchuriki. What do you think? He's acting like an angry man-child about it. Naruto resents him for the lack of training received from the beginning, and knowing Jiraiya did it deliberately. Not only that, but I imagine the Tours told Naruto quite a few things that no one, even though, would be revealed to him until much later in life. Certainly things we would rather take to our graves before letting see the light of the day, commented Tsunade while the elders now had a look of fear on them, even Danzo. They wouldn't dare. Reason forbid the boy from learning anything until he was ready, exclaimed Koharu while Tsunade scowled at her. And when would this sense of readiness be determined, Koharu? When we were all on our deathbeds? When Naruto himself was old, grey-haired, or too weak to do anything of it he felt like? Besides, Sensei only forbade Konoha shinobi from telling him the Tour summons did not fall into the category. He is also the summoner for them and therefore have the rights to tell him things we would not. Said Tsunade while none of the three elders liked this sort of it. His mind needs to be whipped or suppressed for these things. Stated Danzo immediately with the other agreeing. No, I forbid it. Naruto knows what he knows and that's fine. He should have known the things he knows from the start. Sensei made the wrong choice of how to raise Naruto in Konoha. He felt the village treating the boy like a punching bag in order for them to vent out their frustration and damn nearing stunting the boy's growth and potential beyond repair. We all know that if my grandfather or granduncle or grandmother were here, they would have piled a lot of bodies in the village square for what this place has done to him. And don't bother denying it. I know enough about the issue to know that all three of you helped in its very orchestration. You are all just as guilty as they are. He was as my sensei as well, as he was alive, and even more so to let it continue. And since Nade, while knowing these three had to pull in Konoha's own government to make it happen. To say otherwise would insult everyone's intelligence in the room. We did what was best for Konoha. Such potential had either the stunted control or both to be the point where the boy could not attack us. He doesn't understand this and decided to let the things play out. Whether or not it went against the wishes of the fourth Hokage was irrelevant. The needs of the village as a whole outweighed the wishes of the select few, said Hamura while Tsunade scowled. Say the select few who preyed on the fears of the whole village to get what they had wanted from the start. Says the people in the front of me who are afraid to actually make the selfless sacrifices play to ensure Konoha's life to see the next day. You three are a bunch of sniveling cowards who threw away the true patriarchs of this village just to sit on your cushy seats of power while judging others for the work they do. said Tsunade, while the elders made scowling faces at her, to indicating she was not only right, but they hated being called out like that. So what will we do now, Tsunade? Asked Danzo curiously while wondering what she had planned to do with the village weapon. It is Hokage-sama to you, Danzo. If you can't call me by my title, I suggest you not come to any more council meetings and officially retire from all services. As your question, I will let Naruto do as he wishes. If anyone tries to fuck with him from now on, it'll be their own damn fault if he finally decides to smash their faces through a wall or two, said Tsunade, while the elders didn't like her answer. So you condemn him lashing out on Konoha at its people, at us? Asked Hamura while Tsunade scowled. Yes, I do. As to what I do not condemn or condone, Hamura-san, is people in this village which my grandfather built, trying to hurt Naruto and think they can get away with it. The village needs a wake-up call. It's, if not, a kicking in the ass. Who better to kick it than Naruto? Said Tsunade, while the elder grimacingly said, they really didn't like her decision at all. The people will not stand for this, Hokage-sama, warned Hamura, while Tsunade glared at them. They're looking for someone to blame on the issue when Naruto starts beating people bloody. They can either look in a fucking mirror or they can turn their anger out on the three of you for setting this in motion from the start. Take your pick, says Tsunade, while giving the three of them a choice, knowing that people would become bitching to them first before they went to her. Either have these old buzzers turn to blame on the people or hating Naruto since his birth, or accept the blame, the hate and anger from the mob that would no doubt form as a result of manifestation which brought about its conception. Either way, she didn't give a shit, and something told her neither would Naruto if he were in a way opposition. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. As this is Apollo Uchiha and I'm signing out. Peace.